What is up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. This is the David and Annie After the 90 Days podcast. I'm your host, George Mossey. Make sure you're live tweeting with me every week. I love to watch the show. Live tweet, get your responses and your reactions from the show as it airs. This is the season 1, episode 2 podcast. So the first morning in the village, Annie notices something. She notices that Jordan, who she was very close with before she moved to America, is not very welcoming, and it's hard to even get him to talk to her or David. So she's wondering if that situation is because he's a teenager or if he's going through something, and David thinks that he might have an idea. If you guys remember, when David left his kids in America and he went to live in Thailand, there was a lot of different feelings between his daughter and other children, and they felt neglect or abandonment during that time. So David says that he feels with Annie leaving and going so far away and leaving Jordan back in the village, he might feel the same way, which is going to cause a little animosity, and that's going to be a situation that they have to work through together. Hopefully it's not something that they can't repair, but feeling of abandonment is very, very serious, and if that's how he really feels, it's going to be a good conversation for them to have to get everything out in the open. So Amber is very excited to go to the US. She is ready to experience new things, but we do learn Jordan doesn't necessarily feel the same way. He described it himself as it's a 50-50. He wants to go to the US, but he also wants to stay at home in his village with his friends and go to his school and do the things that are familiar to him. So he's actually not really super excited to go. As a 14-year-old, he feels like he hasn't really lived and experienced a lot to be going to another place and giving up the things that he does and the people that he loves. So that's going to be another obstacle in itself, and I think communication is key. They're going to have to all get on the same page, and Jordan is going to need some reassurance so that he knows that he's making the right decision. Before all that can even take place, so at the feast table, Amber's mom, Aunt Lo, questions why they want to actually take the kids to the US. And as I said last week, it's for education, learning English, and for them to be able to learn a trade and bring it back to Thailand and become successful. So what we learned today is Aunt Loam is the oldest ranking family member. So her blessing is actually the most important part of whether or not you're going to be able to do things such as get married, move out of the village, take someone to America. Those type of decisions all have to be approved and given the blessing of their Aunt Loam. And as of this second, Aunt Loam is very, very skeptical of David and Annie taking the kids to America. She said mostly because they don't have any children yet, and she's not really comfortable with them being able to handle raising 2 teenagers, which David and Annie have also brought that concern up as well. But David has raised children before, so I feel like that's something that they could easily overcome. So David decides to take the entire family, including Cindy, on a trip to the Tree Whale Mountain, which is this mountain in Annie's village. And they decided to climb it together as bonding time. But Annie says, I'm not sure why he would do that because that's an American thing. We don't like to climb mountains for bonding in Thailand. So this is different for her. And it actually proves itself to be harder than David thought. As he gets about halfway up the mountain, he realizes that gravity is not on his side. And he's really just trying to keep up with the rest of the family. And he realizes this is much more than he thought. He bit off a lot more than he could chew. So now, in order to try to convince Aunt Loam that they are ready to take Amber and Jordan back to the US and build the trust that she needs in them, David decides that it's time to pay off his dowry. So if you guys didn't watch this season with David and Annie, the dowry is the amount of money and cattle that you would need to pay to Annie's family in order for them to approve of the wedding. So I believe it was 15,000 baht. And 2 water buffaloes is what they originally asked for, and David wasn't able to do that. So he decided that at this point, he's going to go and get turkeys for their farm, 2 male, 2 female, and that would help him pay off his dowry. And then that will build the confidence needed through Aunt Loam to approve and give the blessing for them to take Jordan and Amber back to the United States to further their education. So when I say he decided to go and get the turkeys, I literally mean they took him to a farm and he had to pick out the turkeys and pick them up and catch them with his bare hands. And we all know that David is from New Jersey, and that is not how we pick up turkeys. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in New Jersey, you would go to the store and you would buy a frozen turkey. So David actually caught the turkeys, which was something that if you didn't see, I want to make sure you guys watch the episode and watch that. It's very funny to watch. Good job, David. You did a great job. I don't know if I would be able to catch a turkey. I feel like they might bite. Do you guys feel like they would bite? I feel like they would. So after that, we're going to see exactly how this influences Aunt Loam and her decision. We do see at the end of the episode that she pulls Annie aside and she says adamantly, I don't want you to take the children to the United States for their education. But this is before David arrives with the turkeys, which we're hoping is going to smooth things over. We're going to have to wait until next week to see exactly what happened. But when we do, I hope, fingers crossed, everything works out and Jordan and Amber are able to come to the United States, learn English, get their education, and bring it back to Thailand, to the village, so they can be successful. All right, guys, that's it for the David and Annie After the 90 Days podcast. I am your podcast host, George Mossey. This is the Season 1, Episode 2 podcast. Make sure you're live tweeting with me every Monday night for the David and Annie After the 90 Days show on TLC, and I will talk to you guys real soon.